Good morning, everyone. Your morning weather briefing for this August 3rd finds that the forecast is got a drier trend to it today in the Corn Belt. Looks like the near-term rainfall threat is not going to be producing as much rain as earlier expected in southeastern portions of the Corn Belt, and my own 6 to 10 day forecast is dried out today for the Corn Belt as well. Looking at my respective temperature and rainfall outlooks, also would consider the temperature forecast as modestly warmer today. We are still not looking at the type of heat situation anywhere close to what the model suggested from back on Tuesday, as we are still looking at very nice moderation in temperatures for the middle of next week. But the heat does look to be returning a little bit quicker after that, probably getting started again towards latter portions of the 6 to 10 day period and into the 11 to 15 day time frame. There you can see my drier trend on my 6 to 10 day precipitation forecast this morning. Note though that the 11 to 15 day forecast continues to trend a little bit wetter with each day that goes by. For the QPF discussion for the 1 to 5 day time frame, no disagreements with this forecast. There you can see the drier trend to the forecast for southeastern portions of the Corn Belt. The earlier forecast had the potential for some 1+ inch rains in that area, but it looks like rainfall amounts now may be no more than 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch. At the same time, though, still looking at some very nice rains in northwestern portions of the Corn Belt. Then for the day 6 to 7 time frame, again, that's where my own forecast is dried out for the 6 to 10 day period. This is the first 2 days of the 6 to 10 day time frame. You can see that the bulk of the Corn Belt is going to be drying out during that time frame. Very nice rains that will be getting started in the mid-south on Tuesday will continue into the early portion of the 6 to 10 day time frame, if not even longer than that. High temperatures yesterday in the Corn Belt, fairly mild readings on most of the region in the 70s and 80s, but that will be the last cool day though, and you can see that even yesterday a few low 90s started to work their way into southwestern portions of the Corn Belt. Not much rain to speak of in the Corn Belt during the last 24 hours. Anything that fell was mainly to the east and southeast of Lake Michigan. Of course, we had more big rains yesterday during the daytime hours in southeastern portions of the nation. There you can see the rains as indicated by radar over the last 24 hours for areas to the east and southeast of Lake Michigan. A very quiet radar this morning in a big portion of the Corn Belt region. As far as the forecast is concerned, we are going to be looking at some showers and thunder showers to be developing for very late this afternoon and especially for tonight in the far western portion of the Corn Belt. They're indicated by both the European model and by the GFS model this morning. That's as of 7 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. It'll still be that same general area that is looking at the rainfall for tomorrow night and into Sunday as well. A lot of people often ask me what is the radar or what is the rainfall situation going to be like in a weekend period as we get to the start of trading on Sunday night. And by the time we get to the start of trading on Sunday night, I would think that rainfall by that time is still going to be confined to mainly the far western Corn Belt, especially areas to the west of Interstate 35, where by Sunday evening I think that there will be some scattered areas of some very nice rains in that area, but far from a solid coverage rainfall event. So by the time we get to the open of trading for Sunday night, I would expect that most of the central and eastern Corn Belt will have seen nothing in the way of rainfall. Any rainfall by that time, mainly to the west of Interstate 35, and even there, good amounts will be seen on probably just a localized basis. It will be for Sunday night when the bigger rainfall event gets started in the Corn Belt. There you can see the surface features as of 7 o'clock in the morning on Monday. Should be a pretty solid rainfall event for Sunday night across a sizable portion of the western and northwestern Corn Belt. But again, it'll be a situation where the rainfall will be petering out as we get to eastern and southern portion of the Corn Belt. There you can see the rainfall situation as of 7 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. A model still indicating that there will be rain chances in the eastern and southern Corn Belt for Monday night and into a portion of Tuesday. But again, really backing off on the type of rains that are going to be seen in that area as the frontal system responsible for the rains looks to be moving faster. So when looking at 5-day rainfall totals as a whole, there you can see again a nice situation for rainfall in the northwestern Corn Belt. Would not be surprising at all to see these models actually underestimating to some degree the type of localized rains that can be seen in the area, especially with the type of rains that could be potentially seen in that area for Sunday night and into a portion of Monday. But you can also see that the forecast has dried out for southeastern portion of the Corn Belt. Would not be surprising for the southeastern half of the Corn Belt to see rainfall amounts not much more than about a quarter to 3/4 of an inch, with most of that rain in that area coming up for Monday night and into Tuesday. Again, my own 6 to 10 day rainfall forecast is also dried out today as well. Earlier forecasts by yours truly was expecting at least some modest additional rains in the 6 to 10 day period, as at least a couple of frontal boundaries continue to be moving through the Corn Belt during that time frame. But those frontal boundaries are really non-existent on all of the forecast models this morning. So you can see that in general we are looking at very limited rains, probably a lot of areas nothing at all in the Corn Belt for the duration of the 6 to 10 day time frame. All of the good rain staying further south, where some rains probably returning to the mid-south by the time we get to Tuesday, and several chances of rainfall after that in the mid-south should eventually equate to some very nice rainfall amounts from Tuesday through a good portion of the 6 to 10 day time frame in the heart of the mid-south region. Temperature-wise, still looking at the fact that the bulk of the below normal temperatures that we have seen dominating the Corn Belt for the last week to 10 days, if not a little bit longer than that, have come to an end. We are looking at a warming trend for today, and a lot of above normal temperatures for tomorrow through the weekend. There you can see the temperature anomalies as we get towards Monday, that a big portion of the Corn Belt and areas to the south and east of there looking at some above normal temperatures that day. But also notice the cooler weather that is starting to work into the far western Corn Belt and the central and northern plains, and that moderation of temperatures will be working this way eastward and southward with time. By the time we get to Wednesday, the bulk of the Corn Belt back into temperatures no worse than normal. Overall, it will be the Tuesday through Thursday time frame of next week in which we will be seeing temperatures returning to fairly normal levels across the entire Corn Belt region. Beyond that, though, I think that the forecast has trended warmer. Yesterday's forecast, I was looking at fairly close to normal temperatures continuing in the Corn Belt right through the end of next week, but today's forecast would suggest that we will be looking at some warmer temperatures as we get towards the Friday, Saturday, Sunday time frame of next week. You can see that evidenced by the 11 to 15 day forecast looking at the beginning of that period, which would basically represent the end of next week. Note that a fairly decent ridge of high pressure is going to be seen well above normal heights across northern portion of the nation and into southeastern Canada. The jet stream or the storm track well to the north of the Corn Belt at that time. So earlier models that indicated a northwesterly flow aloft for the end of the 6 to 10 day period and into the early portion of the 11 to 15 day time frame are not going to be verifying. So not only would that period be warmer than my expectations from yesterday, but that's another good sign of why the 6 to 10 day forecast has dried out as well. Again, instead of having a northwesterly flow aloft, it's more of a situation where the storm track of the jet stream is going to be staying well to the north of the Corn Belt at that time. Note, though, that as we get towards the latter portions of the 11 to 15 day period, any ridge of high pressure back towards southern and southwestern portion of the nation, the storm track has dipped further southward, much more of a northwesterly flow aloft at that time. Should be a situation where, while temperatures for the 11 to 15 day time frame will remain above normal, you can still see the above normal heights that are going to be dominating the Corn Belt at that time. The return of a northwesterly flow aloft for the middle and latter portion of the 11 to 15 day period should definitely be increasing rainfall chances in the Corn Belt during that same time frame. Internationally, for your Friday, note the well below normal rainfall that is going to be seen across all of the summer row crop areas of the former Soviet Union. A lot of that area probably seeing nothing in the way of rainfall for at least the next 10 days. The forecast is trending drier turning wetter, I should say, for Europe, but the bulk of that rainfall is in the second week of the 2-week time frame. A lot of Europe is going to be seeing little or nothing in the way of rainfall for today through at least Wednesday. Then we will be starting to see some rainfall moving back into the forecast for France for around Wednesday night into Thursday, and possibly continuing for the rest of the 10-day time frame. And some of that rainfall again eventually getting into Germany and Poland as well, especially eastern portions of France could be seeing some fairly decent rainfall amounts through the end of the 6 to 10-day time frame. Some modest additional rains all across Europe for the 11 to 15-day time frame as well. So if you're looking at the driest conditions in Europe, they will definitely be for the week 1 time frame, with the forecast trending wetter in the week 2 period. Now, as far as temperatures are concerned, still looking at a lot of extreme heat in Europe for the next week to 8 days, and you can see that on 15-day temperature anomalies, where even with some moderation in temperatures for the very late portion of the 6 to 10 and into the 11 to 15-day time frame, we are still looking at temperatures overall for the next 2 weeks running easily above normal. Some of the worst of the heat going to be seen for around the Tuesday through Thursday time frame of next week. 90s will be seen for today through about today and tomorrow, I should say, from France through Poland. Germany and Poland will then be moderating a little bit for Sunday and Monday, but France will still see a lot of 90s. And then, as I said, the worst of the heat in Europe probably coming up for about the Tuesday through Thursday time frame. Look at these high temperatures for Tuesday. Note the extensive area of 90 to 100 plus degree heat across western Poland into Germany and into France. Look for Germany and Poland to see additional days with that type of heat, even for Wednesday and Thursday of next week, but it will be during that time frame when we will really be seeing temperatures cooling off in France, and even Germany and Poland will really be cooling off for the end of the 10-day time frame, and temperatures look to be pretty moderate across Europe for the 11 to 15-day time frame as well. So the bottom line for Europe, clearly the worst of the weather there with regards to heat and dryness coming during week 1. We will be seeing better rainfall chances and more moderating temperatures in the week 2 time frame. Spring grain areas of Europe, of the former Soviet Union, looking at fairly decent rainfall amounts for the next 10 days. Forecast for corn and soybean areas of China looks fairly good for the Manchurian corn and soybean areas. Most of the rainfall going to be confined to Heilongjiang for another 2 to 3 days, where some nice amounts will fall. Then for next week, eventually some very nice rains, even getting into southern portion of Manchuria, near to below normal rainfall across corn and soybean areas of the North China Plain for the next 2 weeks. Best rains will be coming up in northern portion of the North China Plain. Most of that rainfall for the middle and latter portion of next week. Above normal temperatures are going to be dominating the 2-week forecast for the North China Plain corn and soybean areas, and at times that heat will also be getting into southern portions of Manchuria. It still is clearly not a wet forecast for the Canadian prairies. Minimal amounts going to be seen across a lot of that area for the next 10 days. Their growing season not ending on a real good note, as they have been dry in recent days, and obviously the forecast ahead is quite dry as well. Want to note that we have seen some nice rains in a portion of the Australian wheat area during the last 24 hours. Those would be mainly in the wheat areas of South Australia. Forecast going forward still features the best rains over the next 2 weeks in Western Australia, South Australia, and into Victoria. Your most limited rains in the wheat areas of New South Wales. Want to note that some 24-hour rainfall totals in India. Normally when I show a 24-hour rainfall map, I'm noting the type of rains that have fallen. Here I want to note the type of rains that have not fallen. Note how much of India has seen no rain at all during the last 24 hours. Really very rare to see such a limited rainfall map for a 24-hour period when you're in the heart of their monsoonal season. The monsoon coming up still does not look very good, especially dry weather for the next 5 days, then some modest increase in rainfall for the 6 to 10 and 11 to 15-day time frames. That's what I have for your Friday. Everyone have themselves a great day and an even greater weekend.